Welcome back to American Beef Ranch, and yes, there is a good possibility we may not be able to farm in 2025. It just is the way it is, but I do have a four-pronged plan of attack to save the farm. Look, obviously the first point that we have to get taken care of is financing. We have to have a partner on the farm. We're not going to be able to do it on our own. Obviously, we've talked before in the videos. You guys go check out this video about how, historical cash flow, delayed maintenance, bad business decisions, a lender saying yes and then saying no, all those problems that we've had. Okay, so we're past all that. We're in the position that we're in. We have equity in the property. That's great. We should be able to use that to have a partner come on and support the farm. The farm on paper will easily support itself in just that aspect. So basically, we're just looking for a partner. We got to have somebody look at the numbers, say, hey, we see the value in the property, we see the value in the crop you're raising, and we see that there is a path forward. Now, it may not be a big upside right now, but in the long term, there's going to be huge upside in appreciation of the property and land value as we continue to build the soil's health, because it's another thing here. We do have pretty good soil health. So what's the next thing we have to take care of? The number two thing that we're going to have to take care of, obviously, we're going to have to limit our expenses and pulling expenditure from the farm. So the way that we're going to do that is the fertilizer company. I need to sell more fertilizer. And there's some exciting updates with the fertilizer company. Okay, if you haven't seen, I've talked about it before. We have an organic fertilizer distributorship. All of our products are certified organic, and they really can help a farmer take that first step from being a completely conventional farmer to going to more regenerative practices without really changing much of what he is doing. And even more exciting for me, so we live in South Central Idaho. We are in potato country, ladies and gentlemen. And what's exciting for me is I have the first for us, our fertilizer distributorship company, I have our first complete potato fertility program customer. Now look, I've sold dry for plenty of crops. I've sold liquid for plenty of crops. I've also sold liquid for potatoes. But doing the complete fertility from the liquid starter to the dry fertilizer to the full year applications, I haven't done a full system, and now we have built and designed a full system around a group of products that we know have worked and around a group of customers that we have used our products and really like them. So even as we speak right now, I am on the phone, I am pushing, I'm trying to sell as much fertilizer as I can safely without overdoing myself, because we still don't have equipment, right? We still don't have equipment to deliver and do all that stuff, so we got to make sure we don't oversell. But I'm going to try to sell as much fertilizer as I can, because if we do, we would be able to add a few pieces of equipment. But also at the same time, if we sell a lot more fertilizer, that takes a lot more financial necessity to come out of the ranch to help cover, personal expenses and other business expenses, because we can use that money back and forth, because some of the things we use for the farm, we would also use for the fertilizer company and vice versa. So that's the second thing we got to take care of. The third thing, and I think some of you guys are going to crucify for me with this, is equipment. Now, the reason that I say that we need some equipment is because I talked in the last video about custom farmers do the best that they can with what they are allowed. So they have a certain schedule they're trying to fit into. They're trying to do numerous things at once. And sometimes they're not able to do exactly what you need them to do when you need them to do. Now, look, I'm not looking for everything, and I'm not looking for anything fancy. Even if I have to spend $5,000, fix this tractor and put a set of tires on it and make it work for as much as I can do with this tractor, I'm going to do that. But our goal is basically to be able to, first off, work the ground. If we can work the ground, that'll save us some time and some money. Second, we want to be able to plant. Really, those two things are all we want to do. Harvesting equipment is very expensive and is very specialized. And at this point in time, we don't think it's financially feasible to get into a piece of harvesting equipment. But if we can work the ground and plant the ground when we want to and get our timing correct, that's only going to help us increase our yield and our profitability long term. So now when we go back through our pillars of what we need to do, we need a partner, and then we have the fertilizer company. So a partner is going to look at the farm, and then they're going to look at the fertilizer company, and they're going to see what the value is there, and we're together going to determine whether we have this much money to spend on equipment or this much money to spend on equipment. Are we buying equipment for right now to get by to make it work? Or are we going to buy equipment so that we can expand, hopefully lease the neighbor's place and keep rolling down? So it really depends on what our partner on the finance side wants to do. But we're hoping to get at least a few small pieces of equipment, even if I have to fix this tractor or get a different tractor, just to help us reduce the amount of custom labor that we have to hire so that we can increase our timing efficiency to help our crops have a better profit potential for us. Now, the fourth and final thing that we are going to have to do to really be long-term profitable and help get that debt load down as fast as possible is diversify. Now, we've talked about this before, adding more things to your farm, more enterprises to help that cash flow throughout the year is hugely important to a farm in the modern era, especially one that's not set up or one that has more debt load like land debt and equipment debt. Now, for us here, the best way that we're probably going to do that, we're going to add layers and broilers to the farm in 2025 in a good scale. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, the Organic Trade Association showed a diagram of the growth in organic products, of what gets sold, what doesn't get sold. And the number one is organic meats, so beef, poultry, and lamb and pork. In organics is the fastest growing section, and within that, broilers are the fastest growing section of meats. So it's pretty easy to add. We have plenty of ground that we can run broilers on, but also a big thing for us is we can grow our own feed. Where a typical broiler in our setting would take about $3.50 of feed, we can grow that same amount of feed for $1 or less. And so on 2,000 broilers, if you save $2.56, that's an extra $10,000 in our pocket. Also, we can butcher our own as long as we stay under a certain number. And that way we can help cut those costs, make more income for the farm. And obviously selling meat is more spread out. Obviously you have a little more time and labor, but if you're selling eggs all the time from the chickens and you're selling meat all the time from the other birds, you're going to have cash flow a lot more spread out. And that helps take care of those monthly bills that nag at a farm that only grows crops that sell in the fall. To be honest, we have those four things we can do to save the farm. And when I mean save the farm, I'm not saying that selling it would be a total loss. If I was an investor and I started out with this property where we started out to about the amount of equity that we had now, even if we sold it for less than what the appraised value is for, we still have plenty of room to make a profit. So in the end, that's a win. But obviously, this is a family property. We bought this from family. It's just me and my wife doing the work, but we want to keep it. We don't want to sell our place. Like, we want this to be home and our home place for the rest of our lives. And yeah, the rest, if we expand and lease and do other stuff, that land can come and go. But we want to keep this place. So in the end, like we stated, we got four things we got to do. We have to have a partner, and that partner's got to understand both aspects of the business. And that way, that when we talk about fertilizer, we can sell as much as we possibly can, and hopefully we can deliver and apply that fertilizer. That way we can help make a little bit extra income too. And then that same equipment that's delivering and applying fertilizer, we can use on the farm. And then on top of that, that goes back to equipment. We need a few pieces of equipment. You know, a small amount of money spent on equipment can go a long way on a farm this size. And I think we can really hone in on the timing aspect of farming and getting our crops planted exactly when we want to, so we have the best chance to have the biggest return on investment. And then on top of that, diversification. We know this place was a grass-fed finished beef operation for many years, and if you just took the expenses of that operation, it was pretty successful. The problem with that operation is that it was never scaled and none of the maintenance was ever put back in the property, and so now we have to take care of it. But we see that if we're able to be a good supplier for organic eggs and organic broiler meat and organic lamb and organic beef in the long term, we'll have a much better chance of long-term profitability and sustainability. On top of that, eventually what we would like to do is take the grains and other things that we're growing and sell them to local consumers as feed. Not just selling to the wholesale market, but selling those at a little bit higher price and into direct consumer feed sales so that they can feed their pigs and their chickens and other things like that so they can grow their own food too. And I think that's kind of the whole gist of the deal. Basically, we want to save this farm because we want to grow food and feed for people just like you. And I really appreciate you watching, and make sure you watch next time because we got more saving to do. God bless. Have a wonderful day.